The episode of the Big Love Podcast, and I'm your host, Leon Big Love Wilson. Sorry, I'm running late. It's so many things going on, but here we go. This is a special edition of the Big Love Podcast, and this is all about COVID. Now, we hear a lot of different things going on about COVID, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the news. But today I want to tell you about what happened to me. Not what I heard, but what actually happened to me. Um, in January of 2020, my family and we had just moved into a new home in a new state. And so everything was upbeat and we were ready to go. And things looked great to start a new job working at the university and my wife working, and everything is wonderful. But it's that same time that we started hearing these rumors about something called COVID. And it was overseas at the time, so it's nothing to think about here. That's over there. Right. Well, in March of 2020, they sent everyone home. And most of you remember that. You remember what happened with that whole thing. We came home and started working from home, but we're thinking a couple of weeks they'll have this thing straightened out, and it won't be as bad as people think it is, I'm sure. It was just a little while after that they closed the schools, and I'll tell you, I fantasize about doing homeschooling. I've always felt that I could do it better. That having the kids together and me teaching them, they would get more out of it. Boy, was I wrong. That is a ridiculous thought coming from me. That was one of the most difficult things up until this point that I had ever experienced. I have three kids in three different grades, going to three different schools. Each kid had 4 to 5 teachers that my wife and I had to deal with daily. Homework and all this type of stuff that we haven't did, stuff that I haven't done in 30 years. So I had to go online, watch videos to bring myself up to speed to be able to even help my kids. And at the same time, work 8, 9 hours on my job remotely. That was some hard stuff. But at the same time, I'm consuming all of the information. I'm consuming all of the data, all of the stuff that's coming out. I'm consuming it, trying to understand what is going on. This thing here I've never experienced anything like this. And I don't think anybody else in America has ever experienced anything like this either. Um, but I was concerned. And we did what we do, what Americans do. They jump right in and do what's best. And so we sheltered in place. We ordered our food, had it delivered. We would rarely go out. When we went out, we wore masks. I mean, we're covered up. We're buying hand sanitizer by the gallon. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're all in. We're doing whatever we need to do for ourselves and for our country. We're all in. And the months start going by, and you start hearing conflicting reports, and COVID's man-made, and who was involved, and this and that, and the president's coming on talking about drinking some bleach and what? As an African American, as a community, the trust between the black community and the government is is connected by threads, if any. There's not a long history of righteousness from the government as it relates to the African American community, the Black community. And so um, when they start talking about the vaccine, uh, remember the backdrop of this whole thing is we're coming out of, we're third year into Trump, and there has been nothing good in those years, but people dying. People have started dying. Friends and family. A dear friend of mine, oh my goodness, Tony Williams. He's a father of three, just a wonderful, wonderful man. This man will give you the shirt off his back, do anything for you. And he gets sick at the beginning. And I'm calling him in the hospital, not getting an answer, praying, and then you get the word, young man. Then you get the word, he's gone on. What? No, couldn't be. He was in great shape. Couldn't be. You get the word, the whole house has COVID. The whole house, everybody. Nope. And stuff like that. It became more real, if there is such a thing. And then the funerals, the Zoom funerals. I mean, I don't know about a lot of other different communities, but in the Black community, funerals are important. It's where we grieve together. It's where we all come together and we tell stories about the person, and we laugh and we joke, and it helps us to get through the loss. It helps us to be able to live the days after that. And we couldn't do that. We couldn't do the funerals. And so that was rough. And the vaccine is coming out, and are you going to take the vaccine? I'm going to show you some graphs at the time, what was going on. And this is a graph starting back of April 2020, and this graph shows men and women. And you see men and women who were dying of COVID. The numbers were very close throughout this span of time. And you're right, that men was a little bit ahead of women, but we were right there together. But one of the things that really troubled the Black community, though, was this graph. If you notice here, this is African Americans dying from the virus. This is a huge discrepancy between the next closest one, which were Hispanics. This was rough. We're dying, and then we started to hear rumors that this is a Black disease, that it is killing off Black people, specifically Black men. And you don't know where these things come from, but when the numbers start coming out from the CDC, you're looking at this, and it adds to the mistrust of what's going on. And again, Trump's in office. So this is some rough stuff here. This is And if you look at that next wave in October and then January of 21, Native Americans, and then the Alaskan natives, they're hit with this thing just relentlessly. And again, this is a graph of the deaths. So this is just brutal. What was going on? Here's one more. The numbers. It was just a rough time, and when you think in around July, we're at the bottom, and now we're thinking that this thing is done. So, but we know that wasn't the case. But in January of 2021, though, it was time for me to go back to work, and I decided to get the vaccine because I knew that there are a lot of people, and I live in a red state. There's a lot of people here that don't believe in wearing masks. And actually, there are laws being put in place to stop people from wearing masks, including children in school. So to me, there's no logic, no understanding about this. But maybe they feel that this is not a disease directed toward them. You know, that's interesting. That's interesting that some people here believe that this is more targeted to a certain group of people, and what a lot of people here want to do, they want to hurry up and catch the virus so they can move on. But if you look at this graph again, you see what is going on now, that the numbers are drastically changing. But the final graph I want to show you is this. Look where white America is at on the graph. That's why the other day the president called the pandemic a pandemic of unvaccinated people, because white America has definitely took the lead in cases and death. I have to give it to athletes and actors and actresses and comedians and all these people, especially in the Black community, for coming out and helping to convince the Black community to not only wear masks and protect yourself, but also to get the vaccine. I have to give them credit for that, because they made a movement to make sure that was done. And by the look of the graph, it really worked. It really worked for the community and for me too, because I decided to get the vaccine, and I did. I decided to go with the Pfizer vaccine, and I got one shot in maybe February or something like that. The next shot in April. I don't remember, but I did get the 2 shots. And I'm back to work. And just like I said, there's a lot of people on my job that just they don't believe in that. They don't believe in the vaccine. They believe that the body's natural ability will protect them. And I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But so I'm back to work, and I'm back in, and things are looking good, and the graphs and what's going on is up and down, and I'm in it. But in the summer of 2021, my 14-year-old daughter, she caught COVID, and I remember the day, because throughout all of this, my wife and I, we're talking about COVID. I'm trying to keep her informed. Anything that she finds out, she's letting me know what's going on. We're looking at various different news programs, trying to stay up to date with what we should be doing. And my daughter had gotten sick, and we thought it was the flu or just a common cold, and then we tested her, and she had COVID. Immediately when she heard that, she started crying, and she said that she didn't want to die. And as a parent, what do you do? What do you do? But thank God. But thank God that being young and within about 3-4 days, she started to get on the good side of things, monitoring her and all those different things. And when she said that she was hungry, we knew that she'd come out of it. She was on the good side of it, that she had came out of this thing, and we were extremely happy. And she had a full recovery with no signs of anything left over from COVID. She just seems like she's herself, and that was great. We dodged a bullet, and we continue to live our lives, social distancing, wearing masks whenever we're out. At work, I wear masks, trying to be safe. Within a month or two after my daughter, my wife and I, we need to go back to Chicago to pick up the last of our stuff, maybe a truckload of stuff. And I have a cousin that lives here, and so we decided to leave the kids with my cousin. They're also social distancing. They believe in that, not seeing anyone. So we felt pretty comfortable about that. And we go to Chicago. We didn't see anybody. We did what we had to do. We were on a mission. We were going to make it happen, and that's what we did. We didn't fool around. We didn't dilly-dally. We went in and out. We got all our stuff, picked out all our stuff, loaded that truck up. I mean, you couldn't put a piece of paper in there. We got on the road and we got back. And when we got back home, we were hungry. We hadn't eaten all day, and we wanted to get something to eat. So we decided to go through one of our favorite fast food places, Long John Silver. And we said, well, listen, we'll just grab this, and then we'll go on and pick up the kids. And I remember pulling up through the drive-through window, and I'm looking in, and I see 3-4 people, and they're laughing and joking, and nobody's wearing a mask. And I mean, I think I even commented to my wife about that no one's wearing a mask. And food was ready. Young lady opened the window. She's making small talk. Hi, yeah. Fine. We get our food. We go home right quick. We eat. Food was good. Hot. It was good. And then we headed on out. We picked up the kids. No problems at all. Picked up the kids. Brought them home. Within 2 or 3 days, my wife started coughing. And then I started coughing. Oh, what is that all about? My wife's cough got worse. Deep, deep cough, like you, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, deep cough. And she had started to get very sick. And so did I. Well, I was the first one. I went to the Walgreens drive-through lab. So they took a swab, you know how they do the swab, and they send it off to the lab. And sure enough, it came back positive. And that was the beginning. Because a day after that, we both got unbelievably sick, hard to breathe. We went in our bedroom. That was our spot. We which gave our 3 kids to run the house. That wasn't a good thing, but we quarantined in our bedroom and we stayed there. And those days were some rough days. It hit my wife really, really hard. I mean, she was coughing and couldn't breathe. And I made a commitment right there that I was going to do whatever I needed to do for her, that what I was going through didn't even matter. That anything that I could do just to make her, what she was going through, just any kind of way easier, that's what I was going to do. And that's what I did. Many times I would be up as she's sleeping, I'm watching her breathe, and I'm making sure that even though those breaths were short, that she would continue to breathe. I mean, we could only take over-the-counter medication, so it was Dayquil and NyQuil, and I would get old school Vicks Vapor Rub and rub it on her lungs and stuff like that. She rub it on mine, on the sides and stuff, put it in her nose, try to keep us open. We was popping those vitamin D pills. I think it was 5,000 IUs a day, along with multivitamins, trying to keep a lot of liquid in us, stay hydrated, that type of thing. But it was rough. I had never experienced anything like that in my life, and I mean I've been in the hospital with pneumonia, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't like this. But I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly trying to figure out, is there anything that I could do? And I stumbled upon those oxygen sensors. Now we were already hovering between 102, 103 temperature in the evening time. As you can imagine, that's when it got its worst. And we were right there, and I would put these cold compresses on her head to try to keep the temperature down. And so I learned about these oxygen sensors that you just put on your finger, and I ordered one from Amazon, and that became my lifeline. That became it's something about seeing the numbers for me. And I knew that if she hit 90 on that little meter there, that we would have to go to the hospital immediately. And she would be at 92. I would drop down to 91. But I wasn't going anywhere, no matter what. I had already made that decision. I had already made that commitment that I was not going to leave her no matter what. That I was going to do whatever it took to get her through it. That was my only goal. That was it. Then one day, day or two later, she woke up and she's feeling great. I'm like, wow, this is, I believe everything good is God. This was a good thing. She gets up, she's feeling great, not coughing really. She goes downstairs, watch TV, and watching her favorite show and sitting in her favorite chair, and she's doing great. And I'm thinking like, okay, so she's out of it. She's out of it. And now, if I can get myself together, if I can come out of this thing, then we got it beat. And then the next day, she was hit with it. It was worse than it was before. It was worse, if that was possible. She was so sick. And I just continued to do what I've been doing, continue praying. And eventually, she came out of it. I don't recommend that for anybody, for any man, especially for his wife, for any woman, any wife trying to get her husband through it. I'll never forget it. Well, a few days after that, she took a home test and she tested negative, which was awesome. And I decided, I'm feeling good. I decided to go to Walgreens and take another test. I have been with the lab, so I figured I'll just continue on with the lab. And it came back positive. Okay. So I did that. I said, well, maybe, I'm a big guy. Maybe it's going to take a while for it to run its course. I'll wait another week. And I took another test a week later, and it came back positive. Now, at this point, I'm concerned. I'm not letting on. I'm not saying anything to my wife or anything like that, but I'm concerned because I'm having some other issues that's going on, these night sweats and some other things that's going on with my body. And I'm concerned. So I wait a little bit longer, and another week, and I go take another test. By this time, the job is allowing me to work from home, and so I'm doing that. And it's positive. Hold on. So I'm worried, and I call CDC. And the gentleman told me that someone will call me back in about 30 minutes. And sure enough, in about 30 minutes, a young lady called me. And she asked me a lot of questions. I mean, a lot of questions. And it struck me kind of strange. But I answered all the questions. And then once she was done, she said, well, a doctor will give you a call in 1 hour. Oh, okay. Good. And I mean, in 1 hour, a doctor called me. And I told him what my concerns were, what I was going through, these night sweats, these other things that's going on. And he said, well, Mr. Wilson, he said, there are people that's going through these things and have been going through these things for over a year and being tested positive. And he said, we don't have enough data at this time to really tell you what's going on at this point. However, you are not contagious. So you can go back to work. Well, yeah, well, I felt good about that. However, So so I went back to work, and you know the I wear masks, but as I started to talk to other people who had COVID, like on the job and um, other places, um, they're all saying the same thing. There is some type of, and they're all different, some type of lingering effect. Um, One person is having this debilitating nausea, where when they're hit by this, they can't work. Uh, there's other people that are struck with oh man, this feeling of dread. It's just all types of things, breathing issues, can't climb a flight of stairs. I mean, just all types of things that they may have for the rest of their life. So just because you get through COVID doesn't mean COVID is through with you. I don't, I have family and friends that don't believe in the vaccine, and don't trust the government, and I get it. I was one of those as well, and you have to make your own decisions. You have to decide for yourself what's best for you and your family. I get that. I get that. But one thing that I do know is that throughout the years, especially in this country, I mean, we take the flu shot, we take the measles and shots, and we do all these different things to not only protect us, but it protect other people. We wear our seatbelt. We stop at a red light. This is not just for us; it's for other people that we do these things. These things are mandated by law. I hear a lot of people talking about why the government is stepping in, why the government is trying to make us do something. I get that. I get that. Someone was saying, well, what if 10 years from now they found out that the vaccine causes cancer? Well, my answer to that is we know that food products, beef, alcohol, all those things cause cancer now. But I would like to be there 10 years from now to even have that conversation. Because I do believe that if I hadn't been vaccinated, I wouldn't be here having this conversation right now. So, and that's just my personal belief. It was bad like that. Now we're vaccinated. All my kids are vaccinated, and my wife and I, we've also had the booster. So we have a lot of COVID antibodies in our system now. Um, but now they're saying they have these breakthrough cases where you can catch COVID over and over again. And there's people walking around with no mask because they don't know. They don't know what's going on. But one of the reasons that I wanted to have this real talk was because just last week, a dear friend, part of my church family, younger than me, passed away due to COVID complications. Life is short enough. And, why we don't want to do anything to make it shorter than what it is. This should be a wake-up call to everyone to not only get your affairs in order, but get yourself together. We don't know the day or the hour, so I like to say if you're ready, you don't have to get ready. But yeah, well, that's my story. Tomorrow, Monday, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled Big Love podcast. But I just needed to put this out there and just let people know. Well, as always, I just want you to give big love to everyone you meet and continue to be blessed. Thank you.